Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Question number 18. Ultrasound shows cardinal ecogenic gland at the margin of the gallbladder and posterior acoustic churning. When gallbladder fossa, most likely cause of this appearance is porcelain gallbladder. The ultrasound shows cardinal ecogenic gland at the margin of the gallbladder. The margin of the gallbladder shows ecogenic lining. And then the posterior acoustic churning gallbladder was the most likely cause of this is porcelain gallbladder. Out of all the options, this made more sense. Question 19. Which one of the following statements regarding prime contrast media is correct? Gastrographin can be added to improve transit time. In barium contrast media, gastrographin can be added to improve transit time. Question number 20. The following statement with regard to CT imaging in small bowel obstruction is accurate. Small bowel mural hyperintendency is a feature and is due to vasodilatation in ischemia. In small bowel obstruction, correct. Small bowel in CT imaging in small bowel obstruction, small bowel hyperdensity is feature and is due to vasodilatation seen in early ischemia. Small bowel obstruction, you can see hyperdensity in the small bowel lumen because it is in small bowel wall, because it is due to vasodilation seen in early ischemia in small bowel obstruction. 21. Pouchogram, small blind ending lumen at the superior aspect of the pouch. Correct. CT scan shows dilated small bowel with a transition point in the ileum, beyond which the bowel is not distended. J pouch has mild inflammatory changes in the surrounding fat. There is also a small amount of free fluid in the pelvis. Without diagnosis, small bowel obstruction can occur in up to 30% of this patient. When the patient undergoes a procedure and he forms a pouchogram, it has its own complications. Forming of pouchogram has its own complications, and 30% small bowel pouchogram can cause small bowel obstruction. Correct? In 30% of patients having a small bowel pouchogram having a J pouch, you can see small bowel obstruction. 22. Per rectum bleeding. 3 years old bowel wall thickening of the terminal ileum with mild proximal bowel dilatation, straining in the fat, urinary enteropath, idiopathic is noted. Cecum appeared normal, bowel wall thickening in the sphygmoid colon, most likely diagnosed Crohn's disease. None of these make sense. Choroiditis hypervascular, lymphoma, does not show small bowel thickening, tuberculosis calcification, and Yersinia other findings. Being per rectum, then CT scan shows skip lesions, bowel wall thickening in the terminal ileum with proximal bowel dilatation. Then again, there's all straining of fat, and then cecum, there's bowel wall thickening again in the sphygmoid colon. So these are skip lesions and seen in Crohn's disease. 23. Liver shows 5 cm lesion is hypertension to liver on T1, hypertension on T2, central scars hypertension on T1 and hypertension on T2. So lesion with central scar, focal nodal hyperplasia. 24. CT scan shows large cyst of over 2 cm containing fluid and 3 HU in the head and body of the pancreas. Fine FNO shows fluid in the amylase, but with high carcinoembryonic antigen content, most likely diagnosis is mucinous cystic neoplasm. Squamous cell is bunch of great appearance. Squamous cells are smaller, and squamous cell cystic neoplasm have central scar. But this is 2 cm lesion, large cyst, and then they have fluid-like attenuation. So, in the body and tail of pancreas, head and body diagnosis, which is cystic neoplasm. 25. Liver MRI show which sequence confirming the diagnosis of focal fat infiltration. Dual gradient echo T1W in phase and out of phase. To confirm diagnosis of focal fat infiltration liver, we must do in phase and out of phase imaging T1 for fats. In phase and out of phase imaging is done for focal fat infiltration of liver. 26. Hepatic calculus in the gallbladder, neck with dilatation of the intrahepatic duct. What adrenal features in MRCP confirm diagnosis of MRSE syndrome? Dilatation of common hepatic duct with non-common caliber CBD. Now, shown in gallbladder neck, it's Ramirez syndrome, but MRCP, what do we see? We see dilated common hepatic duct but non-CBD. 27. Diabetic male, ultrasound shows curvilinear high amplitude echoes in the gallbladder wall with reverberation artifact and multiple high amplitude echoes in the gallbladder lumen. Diagnosis emphysematous cholecystitis. Patient diabetic. In diabetic, we see emphysematous cholecystitis. And ultrasound shows curvilinear high amplitude echoes in the gallbladder wall with reverberation artifact and multiple high amplitude echoes in the gallbladder lumen. So curvilinear high amplitude echoes in the gallbladder wall. So these shows emphysematous cholecystitis. In gallbladder lumen, this high amplitude echoes shows dirty gallbladder air. So it is episymptomatic cholecystitis. 28. On removing the external drain, there is significant arterial bleed from the punctured site. Celiac X angiogram shows no abnormality, but bleeding persists. What would you do next? Select your superior mechanic angiogram because buried hepatic artery anatomy. Now, patient has bleeding, correct? And you put drain in the puncture in the patient uh, biliary tract, and celiac axis you to them. And there's no abnormality on celiac axis, but still there is bleeding. So what you do, I can do superior mesenteric artery angiogram of the celiac artery. We assess the superior mesenteric artery because there may be variation in the hepatic artery anatomy. So we must see the superior mesenteric artery also. Question number 29. Cirrhosis. Patient has cirrhosis nodules demonstrating uptake of superior magnetic iron oxide particles. Diagnosis: retrograde nodules. Question number 30. CT shows heterogeneous liver enhancement, poor enhancement of the hepatic veins, and inferior vena cava, ascites, and bipedal pleural effusion. What feature would favor diagnosis of passive hepatic congestion instead of acute Buchiari syndrome? Dilated hepatic veins, inferior vena cava. As seen in passive hepatic congestion. Rest all findings are seen in Buchiari. Hepatomegaly, enlarged carotid lobe, absence of fluid hepatic veins, and flip-flop enhancement seen in Buchiari syndrome. Only dilated hepatic veins and inferior vena cava seen in passive hepatic congestion. 31. MRI shows adrenal lesion. Liver and pancreas demonstrate signal dropout in in-phase images compared to out-of-phase images. What is most likely diagnosis? And what adrenal sequences would help confirm diagnosis? Hemochromatosis. Adrenal sequence is get an echo T2WI. Signal dropout in phase images in liver and pancreas is seen in hemochromatosis. And what you do after that? Get an echo T2WI. Question number 32. Multiple cystic lesion in the pancreas. Lesion consists of a cluster of small cysts with central scar. Multiple cysts and solid lesions are also noted in both kidneys. What investigation would you recommend next? All of the above. Because this diagnosis is von Hippel-Lindau disease. He had a cyst in the pancreas, then there's multiple cysts and solid lesions in both kidneys. So this is angiomyolipoma. Palliative angiomyolopomas plus cyst in the pancreas. So diagnosis is VHL, von Hippel-Lindau disease. For that, we also do ophthalmology. We do all investigation: ophthalmology, MRI of brain for angioblastoma, MRI of spine for angioblastoma, and genetic testing. 33. Perineum swallow to long stricture, several centimeters in the mid to distal esophagus with a fine reticular pattern, adjacent to distal aspect of the stricture and a distal esophageal widening. Most likely diagnosed Barrett esophagus. Now, the important thing is that there is perineum swallow to long stricture, several centimeters in the mid to distal esophagus. This long stricture with 7 centimeters in the mid to distal esophagus. This is specific for Barrett's esophagus. Long stricture in the mid to distal esophagus or mid to lower esophagus, seen in Barrett esophagus. Then distal esophagus widening, so these all features of Barrett esophagus. No other option makes sense. 34. CT shows small bowel is dilated to 5 cm but is not thickened, walled. Inflammatory changes around the duodenum seen. Many areas of lower attenuation are noted extending from the portal apparatus into liver parenchyma. They do not extend to the margin of the liver and are central in their location. Minus 1500 HU, so this is air. Most likely pathology, cholecystoduodenal fistula, air in the biliary tree. The rest all options show portal air, correct? This specific sign, linear area of low signal noted extending from the portal apparatus into liver parenchyma, but do not extend to the margin of the liver and are central in location. This shows air in the biliary tree. And rest all options show portal venous air. The diagnosis is cholecystoduodenal fistula. Also, there's inflammatory change around the duodenum and the small bowel wall is dilated. So this all shows cholecystoduodenal fistula. 37. 4-year-old female perineum swallow shows multiple rounded plaques and nodules in the middle esophagus. Most likely diagnosis hydrogenic acanthosis. This disease affects the elderly and is seen as multiple round plaques and nodules in the middle esophagus. This diagnosis is glycogenic acanthosis. 36. Differential diagnosis of aortic dissection or aortoenteric fistula. CT shows no aortic dissection seen, but there is a long eccentric filling defect identified within the esophageal wall, extending from the level cranial to the gastroesophageal junction. Did not enhance after contrast administration 75 HU. Most likely diagnosed intramural hematoma of the esophagus. Now these hematomas do not enhance after administration. So look here. patient, the trend diagnosis of aortic dissection or intraventricular fistula is considered. The study shows long filling defect within the esophageal wall extending from liver to carina, but it does not enhance up to contrast administration, so it means it is intramural hematoma of the esophagus. It's a hematoma. 37. Anomaly of liver for hemangioma. In addition to hemangioma, a peripheral wedge-shaped area of enhancement is seen in the arterial phase, but not abnormality seen in the corresponding area in the non-contrast or portal limit phase, which diagnoses transient hepatic intensity. What is transient hepatic intensity difference, or THID? What is this? It is pseudo-legend due to change in hemodynamics. Pseudo-legend due to change in hemodynamics. Now you see here, it's here there is a wedge area in the enhancement with the hemangioma, but it is seen in the arterial phase, but not seen in the venous phase. So it is a pseudo-legend. It is not real legend. It is pseudo-legend seen, like an artifact seen due to change in hemodynamics. It is called transient hepatic intensity difference. 38. What is staging? Okay, question 38. T3 and 1 M0. The pain with esophageal carcinoma referred for endoscopic stage ultrasound staging to the hypochoric area 36 and involving mucosa extent and submucosa muscular propria and adventitia. 3. Should extend up to the adventitia, serosa, but there are no invasions. So up to serosa is T3. Then there's 4 hypochoric area, let's notice center within this area that involves only mucosal layer. Okay, then CT scan shows area of esophageal thickening. So T3 it involves serosa but does not after serosa, and 1 M0. Normal status is M0, and there are 12 mm nodes are noted in the portal region. Okay, there's lymph node in the adjacent to esophagus, 15 mm. The 12 mm node in part of region in the abdomen. There's abdominal node. Okay. So paraesophageal node SUV of maximum 13. So this N1 and then M0. No digital metastasis, so M0. Correct. Read this MCQ, then we will discuss it, but it is easy. T3 up to serosa, N1 single lymph node involved with SUV 13 and M0 no metastasis. 39 barium swallow for dysphagia, esophageal reflux into the lower third of the abdomen into esophagus and delicate transverse traction lower esophagus. Again, this transverse traction lower esophagus is feline esophagus. As transient phenomena, necroprophet extended appropriate for radiologists. Recommend to the GP that the study was unremarkable but for mild reflux diagnosed as feline esophagus. Correct? Again, this transverse traction lower esophagus is called feline esophagus is diagnosed. And when you see this, then patient has already gastric reflux. So what do we do next? The current GP that the study was unremarkable but mild reflux. Question 40. Dysphagia. Contrast passes sluggishly into the oropharynx. No parasitic wells in upper esophagus. Lower esophagus outlines normally. Postally diagnosed polymyositis. Polymyositis and dermatomyositis, they affect the upper third of the esophagus. Because upper third of the esophagus has skeletal muscle. So it affects upper third of the esophagus, and upper third of the esophagus shows no parasitic wells in upper esophagus, but lower esophagus is normal. So most likely diagnosed polymyositis or dermatomyositis. 41. Acute pancreatitis, CT prior to ICU admission, shows homogeneously enhancing dark pancreas with fluid collection in the tail. CT only tier 3 shows 2 further fluid collection in the tail of the pancreas with area fully enhancing pancreas that involves over half of the gland. Which is most useful in detecting the severity of this patient's pancreatitis? CT after 3 days showing necrosis and fluid collection. This is called Balthazar CT staging. Now look here. CT after 3 days showing necrosis and fluid collection. Okay. Which is most useful in detecting the severity of pancreatitis? So this is best severity is CT scan after 3 days showing fluid necrosis, and look here on CT scan on 3rd day they say here that 2 further fluid collection on tail of pancreas with area fully enhancing pancreas that involves half of the gland. So this is most useful finding in detecting severity of pancreas, and this is CT after 3 days showing necrosis and fluid collection. Correct? 42. CT shows inflammatory change in the anterior perineal space. Which is the least likely to be the underlying cause for the CT finding? Gastric ulceration. Because stomach is intraperitoneal organ, and this perineal space is extraperitoneal organ. So inflammatory changes in anterior perineal space is unlikely to be due to gastric ulceration.